MGR Educational and Research Institute, University, Madurai, Chennai.
Good morning to one and all. We are all gathered here at the national level webinar on Contemporary Research Navigating the Maze, organized by Faculty of Humanities and Science, Phase 2 campus of Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute, deemed to be University, Chennai. தாம் இன்புறுவது உலகின் புறக்கண்டு காமொருவர் கற்றறிந்தார். The learned will long for more learning when they see that while it gives pleasure to themselves, the world also derives pleasure from it. So we all here to learn and share the pleasure. I am Dr. L. Ramapriya, Assistant Professor in Department of Chemistry of Faculty of Humanities and Science at Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute. It's a great privilege to me to anchor today's program online. Joining with me in the studio are our Dean, Dr. S. Manivannan of Phase 2 campus, Dr. E. Kavita, Professor, Department of Physics, and Ms. Kalaivani, Assistant Professor in Department of Fashion Technology. Let us start this academic event with welcome address. I invite Dr. E. Kavita, Professor, Department of Physics, and Coordinator of C.V. Raman Journal Club to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning to one and all present here. I am Dr. Kavita, Professor, Department of Physics from Phase 2 campus, Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute. It's really a privilege for me to propose the welcome address for this national webinar on contemporary research, navigating the maze. At the outset, I express my gratitude to our Honorable Founder Chancellor, 3AC Shanmugam, and to our beloved President, Engineer ACS Arun Kumar, for granting us permission to conduct this national webinar. This webinar will definitely enhance our knowledge and to develop our skills in research field. I'm very happy to welcome our Joint Registrar, Dr. S. Ramalingam, Dean Dr. S. Manivannan, and Deputy Dean Dr. V. N. Rajavarman for the smiling presence to be with us. I extend a hearty welcome to our Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Joseph Madhavan, Dean Research and also Associate Professor, Department of Physics, Loyola College, Chennai. I'm proud to inform that he has guided and completed nearly 35 PhD scholars, and I am the one among them. We are fortunate to have him deliver a talk on the topic Contemporary Research, Navigating the Maze. I am sure that we all benefited by his enlightening speech. I would like to welcome all the dignitaries, executives, deans, and head of all the departments, especially Dr. Radhakrishnan, head of the Department of Physics, faculty members, participants from various colleges, research scholars, and students. I'm very happy that nearly 700 participants have registered for this national webinar, which shows the keen interest in the research field. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you for the opportunity given. A kind information to all the participants. Kindly, you'll be receiving your e-certificates within 5 working days after the submission of feedback form. The feedback link will be posted in the chat box, and you can fill that form before 1 p.m. Thank you once again.
Thank you, ma'am, for your welcome address. Now I request our Dean Phase 2 campus, Dr. S. Manivannan, a guide, inspirer, caring administrator who is very keen in the development of faculty, to render felicitation address.
Good morning, everyone. Once again, I'm happy to see you all during this online program conducted by Faculty of Humanities and Sciences. Thank you, Journal Club, for organizing this wonderful event for the benefit of all the researchers who have joined this program. And I would like to start with a note by thanking our young and dynamic President Engineer ACS Arun Kumar sir for his valuable and constant support towards the Adayalamuttu Phase 2 campus. For the motivation and the encouragement towards organizing many events like this. Of course, our another person who used to chair for all our activities is our beloved Vice Chancellor, Dr. S. Geeta Lakshmi Madam. And really, of course, this is the right time to remember her and thank her for giving this kind of enormous support for doing these kind of innovative things at our campus. By respecting both the personalities, then my turn is to welcome our beloved chief guest of the day, who has associated with MGR University in many ways. His students are doing wonderful job for our physics department, and of course one of the person who is doing this kind of coordination. Dr. Kavita is proud to tell she is the student of our beloved chief guest, Dr. Joseph Madhavan sir. Of course, sir used to be the PhD examiner for many of the PhD candidates for our university. Even it's a time to tell he has produced more than 35 PhDs and more than 100 papers in Scopus Index journals. Of course, crores worthy project, many crores worthy project. He has got it for the Laila Institute, where professor is engaged. Of course, right time to remember the place where he works. Actually, number one place at Chennai, where the dream of the not only student but also for the parent to secure a seat in Laila Institute. I am proud to bring Dr. Joseph Madhavan sir to all our beloved participants to share his valuable tons of experience to the young researchers who have joined. More than of course 700 plus participants I came to know, and it's a wonderful count during this kind of pandemic times after nearly 8 to 9 months of lockdown. Now those who are attending these kind of webinar are now, I'm 100% sure, not at all attending for their certificate's sake. It is for their purely knowledge enhancement purpose, how to take further their process. When I have joined as a lecturer in my institute, that time B was the most qualification, required qualification as per AICTE norms, then ME, then PhD, then postdoctoral fellowship. Now having PhD with the project, there is no limit for the research. You have to equip yourself. You have to keep yourself in our this kind of, I can't use the word race. You can't use the word competition. This is called healthy competition, I can term, but this is the mandatory. Now having PhD is a must for any person who is entering to the teaching profession as per the recent norms of Ministry of Education. So the awareness program like this, the contemporary research, the initiatives, all the aspects what professor will be covering, going to be useful for the budding researchers who are about to join their research program or who are struggling in the mid of the research program to take further their research to the successful level. I hope this webinar is going to be beneficial to all the persons who have joined online. And I wish to congratulate the team behind the successful conduct of this webinar, especially Journal Club Coordinator, Dr. Kavita from Physics Department, of course, the person who is doing wonderful comparing, Dr. Amapriya from Chemistry Department. Of course, the hidden person is there, Miss Kalevani, who is doing a wonderful job in terms of technical coordination from Fashion Design Department. Of course, all the ladies have joined together to bring a good program. Congratulations to your team. And I request you all to continue with this kind of innovative programs in future also. Thank you. Thanks for the invitation. Bye.
Thank you for your warm and kind felicitation address, sir. Now let me introduce today's speaker to you all. Mr. Joseph Madhavan is now Dean of Research in Loyola College and Associate Professor in Department of Physics, Loyola College, Chennai. At Trichy, after his MSc in National College, he did his MPhil in St. Joseph College. He received a PhD award from University of Madras. He has 30 years of teaching experience and 20 years of research experience. With 127 international journals published, he also reviewed 60 papers in Elsevier, Springer, Taylor, and Francis. He is also a guest editor of Material Today Proceedings. He has penned 3 books. His research profile includes grants of about 55 lakhs from UGC Times of India. He has guided 31 PhD candidates and now guiding 6 candidates. He was awarded Francis Edanapalli Research Award in 2006 and 2008 by Loyola College, Chennai for significant research contributions. He is an invited speaker for more than 20 national seminars. He is a life member of Indian Association of Crystal Growth and Indian Laser Association. He is a fellow member in International Congress of Chemistry and Environment. He He is the chairperson for Tamil Nadu Samachir Kalvi syllabus in the primary section. He is also an assessment committee member in CLRA for promotion of Group 3 to the next higher grade. And today, he is with us to give a talk on contemporary research navigating the maze. Faculty of Humanities and Science, Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute takes pleasure in hosting this webinar. Before I hand over the platform to our today's resource person, Dr. Joseph Madhavan, an announcement to all the participants. I'm sure you will enjoy the speech and I request you to post queries in the chat box and will be answered at the end of the speech. You can avail your participation certificate by submitting the feedback form, which will be available only after the end of the session and active till 1 p.m. today. Your cooperation will be extremely appreciated till the end of this webinar. Now over to the speaker.
Thank you, Madam, for that introduction. Thank you very much. Honorable Founder Chancellor, Sri A.C. Shanmugam Sir, the President, most respected Shri A.C.S. Arun Kumar, the Vice Chancellor, Dr. S. Geeta Lakshmi, the Registrar of the campus, Dr. Palanivel, and the Dean of the campus, Dr. S. Manivannan, executives, officials, professors of the esteemed institution, the members of the organizing team, Dr. E. Kavita, Dr. Ramapriya, Ms. Kalaivani, Mr. Ganesh Babu, and Ms. Akshaya, and dear participants, good morning to you all. Now let us move on to the topic, right, with this. Now, the topic taken is contemporary research navigating the maze. Right? There is a reason behind why I call it as a maze. As Dr. Manivannan in his introductory speech said, research is not the same, right? It is improving day by day. It is improving day by day. Even the qualification purpose, he said, initially it was BE, then ME, then PhD, then PDF. Then he said, we need projects. So the demand is very high. The demand is very high, right? So we need to navigate, actually. We need to navigate. We must understand what is behind, right? Leave alone navigation, then why it is called as a maze, right? I'll try to explain that. Next slide. The reason is that the landscape of scholarly publication is growing day by day. An average of 3 million papers were published every year. There are 42,500 scholarly journals. Of this, 14,785 are open access. Now, what are open access journals? Right? You must try to understand what is open access journals. Before I answer this question, let me tell you about the different categories of journal. The journals are broadly classified into subscription journals and open access journals. Subscription journals are one where the readers or the researchers subscribe and read the research papers published in that journals. Open access means it is free for the readers. Then how do they manage the publication charge? Either they collect from the authors or leading research institutions or organizations. They sponsor the cost. In short, open access journals are free to read and subscription journals are one which we need to subscribe or pay to read. In addition, we have 13,000 predatory journals. These are the journals we need to avoid. Right? It is not only important where we publish, it is also important where we should not publish. Right? I will be publishing in predatory journals is something like selling something nobody wants to buy. In the later part, I will describe a little more elaborate on predatory journals. Now, next we'll move to the objectives of research. What could be the objective of research? Next slide, madam. The objective with the research is to contribute to knowledge, and knowledge is something that can be written down. Others can then use our knowledge and build upon. What do you mean by knowledge or new knowledge? It is something that had been added to the existing knowledge. In research terminology, the existing knowledge is what we call as the fruit of literature survey. So I have worked, I have toiled, or in other words, it is me and my team had done the work. I would like the work to be approved by the society, or in other words, we would like to make an impact in our field. To make that impact, I publish my findings. Before we move into publishing, let me give you some information regarding submission and the various processes that are involved in submission. That is what I said as navigating, right? Things are different now, right? If you take some 15 years before, right, we used to post our research publications to the journals, to foreign countries. It takes 15 days, 20 days to reach them. Then they come back to us, again another 1 month. Then email came. Then it is email came, right? Then after this email part, now they have dedicated portals. Normally, journal accepts manuscripts through a dedicated portal, and in these days, no quality journal entertains submission of manuscripts through email. If they ask you to submit through email, think twice or even more before you submit your manuscript. Right? I will take the example of Materials Today Proceeding and Elsevier Journal. The reason for taking Materials Today Proceeding is I am a guest editor in Materials Today Proceedings, so I could freely use my resource. Right? So the basic format is same for all the journals. Of course, there could be very minor changes. That too, it could be cosmetic. Before I proceed to topic, let me share some of the screenshots of the portal. Next slide. As you see in the screen, this is the portal for online submission and editorial system. Submission with reference to the authors and editorial is with reference to the reviewers and the editors. And the publishers also have an access to the portal, but that is after the selection of the manuscript for publications. Next slide, madam. Next slide. If you click login, the portal asks for the username and password. Every user has a unique username, which is normally the email ID. If you come down a little bit, there is a question: is this account part of a consolidated user profile or Elsevier profile? Elsevier publishes 2,500 journals. You need not have separate username for different journals. You can have a consolidated user profile or single username and password. Now, as you see in the screen, let me enter as an author, very specifically the corresponding author. It is the responsibility of the corresponding author to reach an agreement with all co-authors regarding all aspects of the articles, including the authorship order, and to ensure all correct affiliations. There are three submenus will be there as you look into the screen. New submission is there, revision is there, and then number 3 is completed. This page will provide step-by-step procedures to submit a manuscript. Next page. Next slide. Next button you see, it is the co-author, portal of the co-author. Since the corresponding author enters every detail, there is no provision for entry in this page. It is informative, and any co-author can access the details of the manuscript in which he is listed as a co-author. Now, we need to have an understanding about who a co-author is. Right? There is a clear-cut guidelines for co-authors. A co-author is any person who had made a significant contribution to the journal article. They also share responsibility and accountability for the results. As I said, it is not anyone can be a co-author. Your friend cannot be a co-author, right? Or your HOD or your colleague, they cannot be a co-author. There is a definite guidelines for a co-author, right? They should have made a significant contribution to the journal article. They also share responsibility and accountability for the results. And nowadays, the journal very specifically asks what is the contribution of this particular author. Right? I need to specify the contribution made by every co-author. Say, for example, if I am the author, Madhavan is the author, and I have some A, B, C as the co-authors, right? I need to specify what have I done, what has A done, what is the contribution of B, what is the contribution of C. So I have to very much specify, right? I should have done the experimental part, right? A should have interpreted, B should have done, could have helped me in the software part, and C, the results part. So something like that. Everyone should have contributed. Everyone should have contributed. Then only they can become a co-author, right? Simply because I am very much attached to someone, right? I cannot put him or her as a co-author. The next slide. This is the reviewer main menu. The submenu consists of 3 components: new reviewer invitation. When the editor sends me a review request, that will be reflected here. Next, we have pending assignments. The status of the manuscript will be reflected here when it is between period of acceptance of review and submission of review. Next is completed assignment. The number of papers reviewed will be revealed here. And so far, I have reviewed 11 papers in materials to the proceedings. That is what is reflected on the screen. Right. Now, I have to tell you something about this review. Right. Of course, I have a slide next. Before that, I will tell you what happens. When you submit a manuscript, it is not that it is accepted by the editor or a single person. Right. It will be sent out for review. Some experts in that particular field. Right. You normally call it as peer review. Peer means someone who is in the same field. So peer review. So they will evaluate and they will decide. Right. Fine. That is what is this review is all about. I will tell you about the next slides. I will be telling about a little more detail about this review also. Next buttons are for the editor and publisher. The editor is responsible for selection of reviewers, and he or she makes a decision on the acceptance or rejection of manuscripts. Next slide, madam. Right. Now, behind the scenes, what happens behind the scene? Right? The diagram you see is taken from the article Peer Review, the nuts and bolts, published by a group called as Sense About Science in the year 2012. This document was copyrighted, and this publication was supported by major publishing groups like Elsevier, Publons, Taylor and Francis, and Billy. These are major publishing groups where you must aim to publish your article. There is a reason to give the name behind the scenes. Once the author submits his paper, he may not know what is happening behind the scenes, but for the informations like with the editor, under review, and decision pending. Only these 3 things an author will be knowing, right? Either it will be with the editor. My journal submitted is with the editor. Then it is being under review. It has been sent for review. And decision pending means a decision is already taken. The editor has have a say in it. So these things only they will be knowing, right? There are 3 key roles in the process. One is the authors who write the papers, 2 the reviewers who provide expert opinions and advice, and third, the editors who make the decision. So 3 different entities are there, right? The authors who write the papers, the reviewers who provide expert opinions and advice, and the editors who make the final decision. When your paper is submitted, the editor first of all look through it briefly to check the format and length, the clarity of the discussion, research methods, overall fit with that particular journals. This is fairly a quick process, right? This is where some of the agencies, say for example, Elsevier, right? It helps. Of course, it charges. It helps if you have some results, if you have an experiment, if you have some results, if you have a write-up, right? Elsevier helps you in formatting this article, but they charge, which could be done by ourselves. If you have a team, maybe the guide will be helping with all his experience about how to write that journal. Of course, now we have this, you name it as author services, right? Elsevier has got author services. Taylor and Francis, they have other services. They will help you out in drafting your manuscript, right? Now, as I said, this editorial process is fairly a quick process, which may take 1 or 2 weeks. Quick process means it is not 1 day or a 2 day. I am telling an average, it takes 1 or 2 weeks, and it varies from journal to journal. If it passes this desk review, right, that is what the editor does, desk review procedure, the editor then sends it out for full review to subject experts. Right, so now it is being sent for subject experts. Now, review, as I said, 2 major reviews are there, right? 2 major reviews are there. One, it is either your name or your email ID could be sent to the reviewer or could be made blind, right? So that is what is two different things, right? So one, it could be blind where the name could be masked, right? Otherwise, it could be open. So these are the major type of reviews we have. Editors now send the paper to the reviewers. These days, paper are sent to a minimum of 2 reviewers based on the recommendations made by the reviewers. They can ask for revisions. They can ask for addition and deletions, right? And this has to be carried out by the authors. More of like improvement or fine-tuning or fine touches given to the paper. It is duplex communication. Duplex means it is between the authors and the reviewers. Mostly the communications are blind. Mostly the communications are blind means the name are masked, right? The name it is the content we are worried about, and we are not worried about. They are not worried about who is publishing or who is not publishing. Once the reviews were finalized, it is decision time, right? So we have 3 different entities involved in the publication process. As I said, one is the one who submits, the other one the editor in between, then the reviewers. So different entities, three different people are there, right? Once the reviews were finalized, it is decision time. Here the authors, reviewer or reviewers, editor or editorial board, all are involved. That is, a group of people is involved. It is true that few individuals are involved. Does it mean that the process is democratic? Right? No. Peer review is not a democratic voting system. It is the umpire who makes the decision and not the players. Right? It is the editor who makes the final decision based on all the information available to them. With this information, I'll tell you what is expected of a manuscript or a paper. Right? I write a paper. As I said, research is something adding knowledge, right? Adding to the existing knowledge, right? Existing knowledge, I mean here is your literature survey, whatever is earlier there, right? That is what is existing knowledge, right? Now, what is expected of a manuscript? If I have a journal paper, what is expected, right? That is the next slide. Next slide, madam. Yes, this is the first impressions of a paper, right? Something like you must make an impression at the first attempt, right? Now, it all starts with the reading the title and the abstract, then the introduction, the figures, the conclusion and reference list, right? A casual, just going through it casually. Now, there are 2 possibilities. This is really all new and exciting, right? So, this paper is a little bit new, right? It is interesting, something like that at the first look, right? The other thing could be, I have actually already seen this before, right? So 2 possibilities are there. When an editor, when a reviewer, or one who reads it, right? If you just go through the paper, it is not that you will be going through it very seriously unless or otherwise you make an impression, right? You'll be just looking at the title, those figures, something. If it is new there, something new there, you will be interested. Otherwise, I don't think you will be studying it, right? That is what the first. So you have to give that first impression, right? The paper writing, manuscript writing, whether it is science paper or an art paper, it is actually an art where you attract people, right? Something like you can even call it as a marketing strategy. Now, next slide. Madam, next slide. Yes. Now, then slowly we read title, abstracts, and introduction. Your title and abstract will usually be the first part of your paper seen by the reader. It will determine the first impression. Clarity and briefness are important in a title, right? So I cannot have a lengthier title, right? Clarity must be there, and it must be short also, right? It must be brief. It must be brief. Is the title descriptive of the report? Does it draw the interest of the reader? Does it focus on the main and most novel findings? Something new is there. Some novel findings are there. Right? I will try to accommodate somewhere in the title. Does it contain any unnecessary hype? Right? You must avoid unnecessary hype. Right? A novel material for photonics. Right? If I say a novel material of photonics, I must defend the same. I must defend the same. So we'll try to avoid unnecessary hype in the title. We can sum up all these 3 points to 3 words: declarative, engaging, and focused. Declarative is all about telling the reader what they need to know clearly. So, for example, if you have identified an effect on something, don't just say there is an effect. Say what that effect is. Is it an increase? Is there some kind of inhibition? That kind of detail is actually very meaningful and very useful to include in the title. Engaging is not about putting things like buzzwords into a title, right? And it is not about seeking attention with something like a joke. Title is not attention seeking, right? You cannot make it like that. Being engaging is about telling the readers that need to know about your paper something that will engage them, something that will bring them into the paper. Often this is about providing your findings and nothing more. Often this is about providing your findings and nothing more, right? Focused means pinpointing or highlighting on the main novel findings. So it is not question of trying to describe the whole of the scope of our study and trying to get every experiment or every simulation that you did into the title. That is impossible also, right? You cannot tell everything into the title. We say title has to be brief, and then you cannot say that you got to bring everything into the title, right? Okay. Now it is about working out how your study moves our understanding forward, especially and trying to focus on that information, because that is usually the reason why people will be reading your paper, right? There have been research about the nature of title, the length of the title, right? Shorter the title, more will be your citation. That is what the research say, right? Next slide. We'll move to the abstract. Next. Now coming to the abstract. So the abstract provides a concise overview of the study. A strong abstract will effectively summarize the paper and aim to answer 5 questions about the study. Why did the authors carry out the study? First question is why? Why did the authors carry out the study? Why did you do it? What is the broader context for the work? What is the general questions they are trying to answer? What are all the real challenges here? What is the knowledge gap that you are trying to fill? Why did you want to go about this study in the first place? And there is, I said, one term, knowledge gap. This is very important, right? Only when you do literature survey, if you study things carefully, study the papers which have already there carefully, you will be able to identify the knowledge gap. That has to be represented in the abstract. That is where literature survey becomes important. Research is something like adding to the existing knowledge, right? Now, next question. What did the others do? What did you do? So what were the most precise way that you then went around trying to answer this question? What kind of things did you want to try? What was the general kind of approach that you took in order to understand this problem and to come to the solutions that you did? How did the authors achieve this? How did you do it? The methodology part. A kind of related, but it's a little bit further on. So the more specifics about the kinds of methods that you were using and the more precise details about how you then went around solving these problems. What did the authors find out? What did you find out? What are the results? So now that you have got to the end and you have talked about what was that you did, how does that relate to the answer? What is the answer? What are the real things that you have now generated that are new? So results will tell us what are the real things that have generated now. What are the things I have added to the existing knowledge? What does it all mean? Now tell us about the problem in the first place or the wider issues in the context that the study sits within and where could we perhaps go from here. Right? It is not that I stop with my findings. I must tell where I can move forward. Right? So now, next, I'll tell you about some introduction. Next slide. The introduction should be well referenced, right? This is a scientific approach, right? Scientific approach of any introduction. It must be well referenced. Focus on relevant research rather than attempt an exhaustive analysis of the field. Right? Introduction cannot be an exhaustive analysis of a particular field. I need to focus on relevant research, right? Key questions to ask about introduction. Is it clear what is already known about this topic? This is what a characteristic introduction is all about. With suitable reference, one need to mention about what is already known. In research, is the research question clearly outlined? Is the research question justified given what is already known about the topic? If you look carefully these questions, one thing is clear. Introduction is all about available knowledge and what is that being added to the existing knowledge. In addition, one has to check whether the introduction gives information for the journal readership to understand the context. This is with reference to the particular journal. Right before I submit, there is a need to select the journal. The journal gives the aims and scope. Say, for example, if it is material science, so I can publish my paper if it is related to material science. I could not publish something else, right? So you must read the scope also. So next slide, madam, it will be methods. Next, we'll move to methods. Is the process of subject selection clear? Are the variables defined and measured appropriately? Are the study methods valid and reliable? Is there enough detail in order to replicate or reproduce the study? We can say that reproducibility is synonymous to research integrity, right? As I said, this is one important thing, right? Reproducibility. Now, reproducibility means what? The ability of independent research to obtain the same or similar results when repeating an experiment or test. It is one of the hallmarks of good science. Right? Reproducibility provides scientists with evidence that research results are objective and reliable and not due to bias or chance. Right? So, reproduce, say for example, if I say something, I am giving a process, right? And say for example, in science or in material science, I am giving a synthesis procedure, right? I am writing it out, I am publishing. Now, someone who reads it must be able to follow that synthesis procedure and be able to have the same output. The product must be the same. This is what is called as reproducibility. And reproducibility is one of the hallmarks of good science. Right? Reproducibility provides scientists with evidence that results are objective, right? And no bias is there. Now, the converse of it, or the opposite of it, irreproducibility, by contrast, may indicate a problem with any of the steps involved in the research, such as, but not limited to, experimental design, variability of biological materials, data quality or integrity, statistical analysis, or study descriptions. So, I must reproduce. If I am not able to reproduce, there is a problem is there, right? Okay. And the problem I have described it, maybe in experimental design, data quality, statistical analysis, or study description, something like that. Although researchers have understood the importance of reproducibility for quite some time, the last few years, the issue has become a pressing concern because of an increasing awareness among scientists and the public that the results of many studies published in peer-reviewed journals are not reproducible. Right? Next, we will move to the results. Next slide. Results need not be surprising. Right? Every result cannot be also surprising also. So results need not be surprising. The most important thing is that the claims made fit with the data provided. I make some claim in my manuscript. Is it fitting with the data provided? Are the results presented clearly and suitably? Are the results are of sufficient quality? Do the results support the main conclusions? Are the results presented clearly and suitably? This includes both text as well as figures. Are the figures are of publishable quality and understandable as standalone display items? So this I will repeat it once again. Figures must be, first thing is, it must be of publishable quality. The quality of the picture must be high, right? Each journal has its own quality. They describe in terms of pixels, right? So figures must be of publishable quantity. Now, if the figures is a standalone figure, I must understand, right? And understandable as standalone display items. If you take it away from the manuscript, right, and I must understand that figure. What is that figure represent? Are the data presented clearly and accurately in figures and tables? Are the results are of sufficient quality? Have the investigators carried out enough repetitions? Right? So, how do you publish results? Right? As far as science is concerned, right? I must do it 2 or 3 times, get an average, right? So I must have done enough repetition so that my results are reliable as well as reproducible. And the figures have high quality pictures. That is what I said. Next, we'll move on to the discussions and conclusions. Next slide. Discussion and conclusion. Are the results discussed from multiple angles and placed into context without being over-interpreted? Right? You must make a note of this over-interpreted. I cannot over-interpret my studies. Do the conclusions answer the aims of the study? Or the conclusion supported by references or results, right? Conclusion supported by references or results means I have my own result, right? Same criterion could have been published by some other people. I can take it as a reference and compare. That is what are the conclusions supported by references or results. Are the limitations of the study fatal, or the opportunities to inform future results? That also need to be mentioned. Next, we will move on to the references. How the references could be. Next slide, references. References, are they relevant? Right? I am writing in one topic, I cannot take some other reference and give, because that paper has been written by my mentor or by my friend. I cannot give it as a reference, right? References have to be relevant. And another thing, it has to be recent also, right? Somewhere published 50 years back, I cannot keep it as a reason unless or otherwise it is a great thing, right? Then referenced correctly. It has to be referenced correctly. Or appropriate key studies included. These are with reference to references. Then next, an important topic, it is about predatory journal. I have been telling you about a normal journal. Normal journal it is. Now UGC says that you have to publish 2 journals, you have to publish, you have to attend 2 conferences for a PhD. Then our institutions, whatever institution it may be, they ask for publications, right? When we go for appraisal, right? When you go for a review, the first question with reference to research could be, how many papers you have published? How many papers you have published? That is the first question. Then how many conferences you have attended? So I need to face these questions, right? There are journals which make use of this kind of questions, right? Which are not proper. You call them as predatory journals. Why do you call them as predatory journals? They prey upon the researchers. We must be aware of it. As in the introduction itself, as I said, as I was describing the publishing landscape, the number of predatory journals, the number of journals I was explaining. Right? Now, a little bit more about this predatory journal. So, next slide. Now, identifying a predatory journal. Right? As I said, what's a predatory journal? It is important. I also said it is important where to publish. It is still more important where not to publish. Also, I must not publish in a predatory journal. Right? Now, I will tell you about this predatory journal, how to identify your predatory journals. Next slide. Common features. These are the common features. All jargons will be there. International will be there. Right? Very broad field will be there. Those things will be there. Right? Addresses may not be correct, and they give time frame such as 2 days, 3 days, which is absolutely not possible. We can move to the next slide. This right now. What are the problems we face when we publish in a predatory journal? Right? Predatory journals are something like a trap. Right? The days were gone. Right? Now we are monitored. UGC is monitoring us. Right? Our institution is monitoring us. So there is a monitoring mechanism everywhere. Simply, I cannot publish in a predatory journal. Right? Now, the predatory journal, the first problem is I publish, and this publication may be unavailable after some time, right? They don't keep a track, right? Every genuine publication will be listed in globally recognized databases. What do you mean by globally recognized databases? Scopus, Web of Science, PubMed, Google Scholar, right? These are all called as globally recognized. When it is listed in these globally recognized databases, it is sure that I can come after some time, I can come after years. My papers will be archived and I can retrieve it, right? But this is not the case in terms of predatory journal, right? The quality of your research will be questioned, right? If you publish in a predatory journal, your quality will be questioned. You will be questioned, right? The reputation of you as a researcher will definitely go down. The reputation of you as a researcher will go down. It is not only you. It's not only you. The reputation of your institute will also go down. And I will not publish my name as simply Madhavan. I have to give my affiliation, right? I have to give my affiliation. Laila College, Chennai. I have to give my affiliation, right? If I publish in a predatory journal, not only the reputation of Madhavan goes down, it is the reputation of Laila College that goes down, right? So you must be very careful. Then it's a problem for your students. May it be your MPhil student or your PhD student. If they go out, search for a job or search for a postdoctoral fellowship, and if they see their names in predatory journal, definitely is not going to get a job or the postgraduate fellowship. So these are the problems. These are the problems here, right? So you must avoid publishing. You must avoid publishing predatory journals. So how to avoid? Before submitting your manuscript, check whether it is being listed in Scopus or Web of Science. I'll be touching about the Scopus and Web of Science little later. Before at the end of this presentation, I'll tell you something more about this Scopus Web of Science. Right? And UGC has come with UGC CAR journal. UGC CAR journals. So you just go there, just check for your journal in UGC CAR list. UGC CAR list has got two groups. One group is monitored by UGC itself. UGC has its own protocol, and it has listed some journals, right? And another one is when it is published in a globally indexed database, it is automatically accepted, right? Next we will move to the journal metrics. Little bit about impact factor so that you understand better. Right, this idea of impact factor was mooted by Eugene Garfield in 1955 itself in an article published in Journal of Science. Science is a popular journal in those days, and even now science is very popular. As you see in the screen, the title of the paper is Citation Indexes for Sciences. Again, in 1972, he published a paper entitled Citation Analysis as a Tool in Journal Evaluation. Next slide, madam. I'll show who is Eugene Garfield. Next slide. This is Eugene Garfield. He has a bachelor degree in chemistry and also in library science. He is a PhD in linguistics, and he obtained his PhD for algorithms for converting, for translating chemical nomenclatures to chemical formulas. He is basically a chemist as well as a librarian. In 1956, he founded the Institute for Scientific Information, ISI, which transformed as Thomson Reuters, and from 2016, it is Clarivate Analytics. As of now, Clarivate Analytics is the company responsible for impact factors. That is, Clarivate Analytics is the company which gives the impact factors, right? Every year, they release the journal impact factor for the journals that are listed under Clarivate Analytics or Web of Science. As is seen in the screen, currently there are 9,370 science journals, 3,486 social science journals, 1,658 gold open access journals, and 7,487 hybrid journals. These are the database include everything. So around 22,000 journals are listed by Web of Science databases. As I said, open access journal means the contents are made available to the readers free of cost. Then what are gold open access journals? Gold open access makes the final version of the article freely and permanently accessible for everyone immediately after publication. Copyright of the article is retained by the authors, and most of the permission barriers are removed. Hybrid journals, as the name implies, hybrid journals refer to subscription-based journals that offer an open access option with which authors can choose if they wish. That is, both subscription and open access is available. For a single journal, both subscription and open access is available. Right, a little more information about this Clarivate analytics, because Clarivate analytics, you must know about it, right? There is quite a big reason of it behind it. Clarivate analysis is a global leader in trusted insights and analytics for research and innovation, identify and recognize the most influential researchers and institutions for outstanding and pioneering research contribution to the country. As I said, they don't stop with the impact factors. They do a lot of work. They identify good research. They announce research excellence awards periodically. These awards celebrate the research excellence demonstrated by many outstanding researchers and institutions, right? And they are captured in Web of Science. These awards, I will tell you about an award which was announced last year. By this time, these awards were announced in September 2019, that is last year. Highly cited research publications that imply high impact research published during the period 2012 to 2018 were an important criterion for the awards. The award ceremony celebrated 8 individual researchers and 11 institutions for their exemplary research contributions. Individual awards included lifetime achievement, research excellence in various fields, and institutions were categorized as different categories of institutions. Young universities that is within 15 years, and universities that were existence for more than 15 years, and awards were given to colleges also. In the college category, I would like to share about our college also. In the college category, Laila was awarded the best college in terms of research citation. That is what you are seeing in the screen. I thank our principal, the principal of Laila College, Reverend Father Thomas, for allowing me to receive the award on behalf of the Laila College. I received the Indian Research Excellence Citation Award 2019 from Professor Atush Sharma, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, and Dr. Bhushan Patwardhan, Vice Chairman, University Grants Commission, and Dr. Anand Desai, Research Policy and Assessment Advisor, Institute for Scientific Information, in a function held at New Delhi. You can also see me giving the acceptance speech after receiving the award. Next, let me move on to the impact factor part. Next slide. As I said, the journal Impact Factor is published every year by Clarivate Analytics. It's a measure of the number of times an average paper in a particular journal is cited during the preceding 2 years. For example, let A be the number of times articles published in a specific journal in 2017 and 18 were cited during journals were cited by journals during 2019. I will repeat it, right? The number of times articles published in a specific journal in 2017 and 2018 were cited by journals during 2019. B, the total number of citable items published by that journal in 2018 and 18. Sorry, the total number of citable items published by the journals in 2017 and 18. Citable items are usually articles, reviews, proceedings, etc. Right? And 2019 impact factor will be A by B. Actual value is intentionally only displayed for the most recent year. Earlier values are available in the journal citation report from Clarivate Analytics. Now, I'll give you an hypothetical example, right? The reason to take an hypothetical example is the number of articles published will be in thousands, and the citation will also be in thousands for any standard journal. For better understanding, I'll keep this number less so that you can understand it. Say, for example, number of papers published by a journal X in 2017 be 10, and the number of papers published by the same journal X in 2018 be 11. So the total number of papers published by this journal in 2017 and 18 is 21. If these 21 journals are cited by the journals mentioned in the landscape, there is so much of journals, 42 times in the year 2019, then the impact factor is 42 by 21 equal to 2, right? So I made it simple. Hope you would have understood. Next slide, madam. Next. Another thing is you call it as 5-year impact factor. Next slide. Next slide, madam. It is a measure of the number of times an average paper in a particular journal is cited during the preceding 5 years. For example, I have given the same example, but it is for 5 years. A, the number of times the article published in a specific journal between 2014 and 2018 were cited by journals during 2019. B, the total number of citable items published by the journal between 2014 and 18. Again, citable item means the same thing. It is articles, reviews, proceeding, etc. So 2019 impact factor equal to A by B, right? So this is about impact factor and 5-year impact factor. Next, we will move on to Scopus. Next slide, madam. Right. Now, so Clarivate Analytics is a globally recognized database, right? It's a company which is responsible for impact factors, and it is very much synonymous to Web of Science. If I say Web of Science, it means Clarivate Analytics, right? So even in the UGC website, it will be saying that if it is listed in Web of Science, whatever is good. That is what the UGC says. So UGC. So now we are coming to another database. It is Scopus, right? Scopus is yet another database. It is also recognized globally. Something like Clarivate, though Clarivate is responsible for impact factor, and impact factor is universally accepted. However, Scopus has come out with its own metric, right? And this Scopus is launched in November 2004, as you see that, right? And there are 2,500 titles from more than 5,000 international publishers. It means that publishing centers are 5,000, and from the publishing houses, 25,100 journals are being published. Now, next slide, madam, I will tell you something about SiteScore. Now, SiteScore. As I said, Clarivate Analytics, it has given impact factor. Now, the Scopus is trying to have its own metric. We call it as a SiteScore. SiteScore 2019 counts the citations received in 2016 to 2019 to articles, reviews, conference papers, book chapters, and data papers published in 2016 to 19, and it divides this by the number of publications published in 2016 to 19. Right? This is what is SiteScore. So Scopus as its own journal metric. Right. Now next we will move to the next one. The next one. Now one more important metric, right? The Google Scholar. Google Scholar was released in 2004. The Google Scholar Index includes most reviewed online academic journals and books, conferences, papers, theses, and dissertations. It has its own index, right? Clarivate Analytics impact factor, Scopus SiteScore, and Google Scholar has a unique what is called as I10. I10 index the number of publications with at least 10 citations. I have been telling about citations, right? If my paper is referred by another researcher, I call it as a citation. Even in the citation, I must be very careful. I am sharing you the UGC mandate about these citations, right? Too much of self-citation to be avoided, right? I have written as in the introduction, Madam has said, right, I have published more than 127 journals, right? If I write a journal now, if I write a manuscript now, then I will try to avoid referencing my own journal, right? When I reference my own journal, it is called as self-citations. When we calculate journal metrics, now there are formula to calculate which will avoid self-citation also. So I need to avoid self-citation. Now let us move to the next one. Almetric. Right. This is a new concept. What is this new concept? We live in the days of Facebook or Twitter. Even this Twitter is being used nowadays by political parties very often, right? Our CM gives messages through Twitter. Our PM gives messages through Twitter. And everything is taken officially, right? Everything is taken officially. UGC is having its own Twitter handle. MHRD or the Ministry of Education has its own Twitter. Before it comes officially, it comes in the Twitter as Twitter. The Twitter handles are taken official. Now this altmetric takes care of things which were in the public media. If it is announced in the media, it is being taken. This is one kind of measurement. How much your research is discussed in the media. We'll move to the next one. We'll move to the next slide. Almetric is all about now the previous slide. Previous slide, madam. Right. Now three major databases we have discussed. One is Web of Science, and then Scopus, and then Google Scholar. Which is the best one? I could say it is Web of Science because the rules are very stringent. To be selected in Web of Science is little bit difficult when compared with Scopus and Google Scholar. Right now, if you look at the screen, this is my own data. Scopus says I have a publication about 127 journals. Right, certain journals are excluded in Web of Science. It says only 100, and still more journals are included in Google Scholar. So, if you want to put in a hierarchical way, I will put Web of Science as number 1, Scopus as number 2, and Google Scholar as number 3. Right? With this information, let us move on to the next slide. Yes, next slide. Something to tell you about intellectual property, right? Because today, intellectual property, we researchers, we generate property which are intellectual, right? Intangible. How to measure our knowledge, right? Tangible. Right? So there must be a scheme to measure knowledge, measure intellect. That is what the intellectual property is all about. Intellectual property sounds like a very complex idea, but it is something that we come across all time. Let us observe the most common necessity nowadays: a smartphone. The phone's brand, shape, logo, and operating technology are all an embodiment of some form of intellectual property. If you take the dictionary, Oxford Dictionary defines intellectual property as intangible property that is the result of creativity. Tangible properties, movable or immovable, have a physical presence and structure. They have been recognized as goods since time immemorial. Conversely, intangible properties have only been recognized as properties in the recent past. Intellectual property very broadly means the legal rights which result from intellectual activity in the industrial, scientific, literary, and artistic fields. Intellectual property includes inventions, innovative designs, products of human creativity, identifiers of organization or the products and services, or the unique products that have a geographical attribute. Next slide. Can you move to the next slide? Now, this patent, what kind of inventions could be patented, how long? I have given the answers in the slide, right? Though intellectual property divided into two categories, industrial and copyright. I have given the answers for what is a patent, right? A patent is the exclusive right granted to an individual. Could be an individual or could be an organization. We'll move to the next slide. Next slide. Is patent valid in every country? Right? It is not valid in every country. As of now, it is only a territorial right in the territorial region, right? A patent filed in India is valid only in India. Of course, there are procedures for it. As of now, it is valid only in the country. Right? Licensing a patent simply means that the patent covers, grants permission to another individual to make, use, sell, etc. for his or her protected invention. Right? I can license my patent to another. Next slide. Usefulness of a patent. If a patent it, right, it becomes my property, right? And there are 3 conditions to be a patent. An inventory item must be there, an element of novelty must be there, capable of being used in industry must be there. So these 3 are the conditions for a patent. Right? Next, before I have touched a little bit of everything, right? So I started why we call it as a maze, then the different components of a manuscript, then a little bit about journal metrics, the most used journal metrics, and then a little bit about this patent and intellectual property rights, right, that I have done. Now, before I conclude, before I put a question there, before I conclude, I would like every researcher to go through a document, right? A guidance document entitled Good Academic Research Practices was released by the University Grant Commission UGC on 29 September 2020. That is last month they released, right? It is a must that as a researcher, everyone must go through this document. Right? This document was prepared jointly by UGC and Clarivate Analytics. As I said, Clarivate Analytics is authority for impact factor, and UGC is the authority for higher education. They both have joined together and they have released this document. The contributing authors are the major Bhushan Patwardhan, the Vice Chairman of University Grants Commission, Anand Desai, Policy and Assessment Advisor, Clarivate, and Professor. He is also Professor Emeritus, Ohio State University. So best minds in the country have come forward and they have drafted the document, and also it has been reviewed by top people, like something like the chairman of AICT. They have reviewed the document. So I'll make a advice that you go through the document. The document is available in the UGC website, right? So that you can understand what UGC expect from us, right? With these words, let me come to the conclusion. So thank you very much for your patient listening, and I'm ready for the questions.
Thank you, sir. That is really a fabulous presentation. We have got very good comments from the participants also. There are one or two questions from the participants. May I proceed, sir?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Please.
Sir, first question is, what are the reasons for your journal to be rejected before reaching the reviewer? Before the reviewer rejects it.
Yes. This is a good question, actually, right? First, before it goes to a reviewer, the editor goes through your journal, right? Your writing skills plays a major part. Your English plays a major part. The framing of sentences plays a major part. Another thing, your journal must coincide with the scope of the journal. Say, for example, if I take Journal of Material Science, right? The scope is limited to material science alone. Right? I cannot submit something other than the scope. Maybe there might be a deviation from the scope. There might be a deviation with reference to the number of pages. There might be a deviation. There might be something problem with the way of writing, your presentation, the English, right? And then the flow, the title, then the abstract, then the introduction, then the methods, results, then discussions, then coming to your references. Even the references, they take care. I cannot put everything as a reference. Something before 30 years, 40 years, references must be recent. So these things could be the reason that your paper gets rejected before going to
Okay. The next question is, how can a person who is not affiliated to any institution publish research articles? Like, how can independent research articles publish their articles in academic journals?
There is a possibility that you can mention you as an independent researcher, because I have seen papers making them as independent research. There is a possibility, right? The editors do accept. Of course, they ask for affiliation. You can always term it as independent research. Nothing wrong in it. I have seen papers. You can proceed.
Then one more, sir. What is the weightage for the first author? When there are co-authors, sometimes we see papers with 3 or 4 authors, more than that also.
More weightage is given to the first author, right? But there are papers in very prominent journals like Nature where they say a note will be there. Every authors have contributed equally. A note will be there. It is not that the first author gets a majority pride for himself, right? There are journals, there are possibility that where it could be equally divided. But commonly, the first author gets is the prominent one. The first author is the prominent. Yes, have I answered or still more?
No, that's all, sir. I don't think there are any more questions. You have answered all the questions, sir. That's it's really very fabulous. You have very enormously presented, and we have got good feedback from the participants also. So I think the session is too good. Like, we request you to kindly accept an appreciation letter from our university. We'll send you this letter through email shortly, sir. May I request the
Thank you.
appreciation letter to be displayed? This is the one, sir. We request you to kindly accept it.
Yes, madam, accepted. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really very wonderful day with your talk, sir. Thank you so much for being with us and delivering a wonderful talk.
Before we conclude, let me acknowledge, first let me acknowledge my college, right, for giving me all the opportunities, the management, the Jesuit management of Lala, for giving me the opportunity to come out and speak. So for all the opportunities they are given for everything, I acknowledge my college management. And another thing I would like to acknowledge for giving me an opportunity for the organizing team. I thank the organizing team for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts. I thank everyone in the organizing team. Thank you very much, madam. All of us, the organizing team. And then I would like to thank my own team. I have my research team, and in a special way, Reverend Father Bharati. He is the one who made that PowerPoint. And I just gave him the contents. He made the PowerPoint. It was so nice. It was so nice. I thank Reverend Father Bharati. So I thank all the participants once again for the patient listening. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now time for vote of thanks. May I call upon Dr. E. Kavita, Professor of Physics Department, to give vote of thanks. Sorry, ma'am, you are not audible. Could you please unmute yourself?
Thank you, ma'am. I deem it a great privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this occasion. On behalf of faculties of Humanities and Science, Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute, I would like to thank our Honorable Founder Chancellor, Thiru A.C. Shanmugam, and beloved President Engineer A.C.S. Arun Kumar for the motivation and support. I wish to express my gratitude to Dr. Ramalingam, Joint Registrar, Phase 2 Campus, great leader and motivator, Dr. S. Manivannan, Dean, Phase 2 Campus, and Dr. V.N. Rajavarman, Deputy Dean, Phase 2 Campus, for the guidance and support and for providing encouragement at every point of time in organizing this great event. I wish to express my sense of appreciation and gratitude to Dr. Joseph Madhavan, Dean of Research from Lilo College, Chennai, who accepted our invitation in spite of his busy schedule. We thank you, sir, for sharing your thoughts and giving your valuable suggestions to gain insights on how to do a quality research. Really, it's a wonderful presentation, sir. We came to know about the predatory journals and what about patent and a lot of information we got. Really, thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Sir, your words have truly inspired us. Our heartfelt thanks to our executives, Dean, and head of the departments, especially Dr. Radhakrishnan, head of the Department Physics, for his encouragement and support. My special thanks to all the faculty members, participants from various colleges, research scholars, and students who made this program possible. I take this opportunity to extend our most sincere thanks to our team members, Dr. Ramapriya, then Mr. Ganesh Babu, Ms. Kalaivani, Dr. Hashini, and Ms. Akshaya. And special thanks to Mr. Ganesh Babu for making this event a grand success. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Dear participants, announcement to you, e-certificates will be given to only those who submit the filled-in feedback form on time. E-certificates will be dispatched after 5 days of completion of this event. The feedback form is active from now onwards till 1 p.m. today. So please fill in before 1 p.m. today to avail your e-certificates. We all will meet again in another event. To know about our upcoming events, subscribe to our channel MGR Phase 2 Digital Library. To know about the courses we offer, visit our website. Thank you all. Have a good day. Stay home, stay safe. வாழ்க பாரத மணி திருநாடு.